Chapter 9, Part 2, God Sustains All, scenes 9.7 to 9.13.
Introduction: The rhythm of creation and return. Scene: the battlefield remains tense, but Krishna's teaching has moved far beyond its noise. Arjuna listens now not as a warrior, but as a seeker awakening to cosmic understanding. Krishna has revealed himself as the unseen foundation of all within all beings, yet beyond them. Now, he unveils a deeper layer, the divine rhythm of existence itself. All creation rises from him, exists in him, and dissolves back into him.
Then, in the Vedic vision, creation and dissolution were not chaos, but order, divine breathing. When Brahma's day begins, beings arise from the unmanifest. When his night falls, they return to rest. Krishna now tells Arjuna that he himself is that law, that pulse, that rhythm. He is both the seed and the soil, the beginning and the end, the unseen intelligence guiding every return. For Arjuna, this is no longer philosophy, but direct revelation to see creation not as chance, but as sacred order sustained by love.
This understanding transforms fear. If everything arises and returns to the same divine source, then loss is not destruction, but transition. Death becomes continuation, and uncertainty becomes rhythm. The world is not unstable, only our attachment to moments makes it seem so.
Now, in our age of unpredictability, this wisdom feels revolutionary. We live amid constant change: jobs, relationships, health, even climate, and our minds crave permanence. Krishna's words remind us that impermanence itself is part of divine order. The same power that births stars also guides endings. The same force that breathes through galaxies sustains every heartbeat. When we see that creation, maintenance, and dissolution are all divine acts, we begin to trust life again. This trust is not blind faith, but spiritual maturity. It arises when we recognize that there is an intelligence behind existence, a silent rhythm guiding every rise and fall. When we align with that rhythm, fear fades. When we resist it, anxiety grows. Krishna invites Arjuna and us to surrender not as defeat but as understanding.
Focus: the universe is sustained by divine rhythm. Everything arises and returns to the same source. When you see this, you no longer fear change, you rest in the eternal that holds it all.
Scene 9.7, Creation returns to me.
Scene: Krishna says, "At the end of every cycle, all beings enter my nature, and at the beginning of the next, I send them forth again."
Then, Krishna now reveals the divine heartbeat of existence. The universe is not a mechanical accident, but a rhythmic unfolding within him. When each cosmic cycle ends, all beings from gods to humans to the smallest life dissolve into his nature. When a new cycle begins, he brings them forth again, like waves rising from and sinking back into the ocean. For Arjuna, this vision dissolves the fear of death. If all returns to Krishna, then nothing is truly lost. Even destruction is a form of divine rest.
Now, this truth is deeply relevant in our changing world. We often experience life's endings, loss of loved ones, failures, or transformations as chaos. Krishna reframes them as sacred transitions. The same intelligence that guides the cosmos guides our personal cycles too. When something ends, it is returning to its source to be renewed. Learning to see endings as divine movements transforms grief into acceptance and fear into trust.
The practice is not to cling but to cooperate with the rhythm of life. Like seasons turning, everything has its time to bloom and its time to rest. Spiritual wisdom is not to resist change but to see Krishna's hand in it.
Focus: all things return to Krishna. Surrender to the rhythm of beginnings and endings. When you trust the cycle, fear dissolves and peace returns.
Scene 9.8, the Lord creates again and again.
Scene: Krishna continues, "Guided by my own nature, I again and again send forth this multitude of beings, helpless under the sway of my material energy."
Then Krishna expands the vision. He is not only the one into whom all returns, but the one through whom all arises again. Creation is his play, expressed through his divine energy, Prakriti. Beings emerge helplessly, drawn by their own karmic tendencies, moving through endless cycles until they awaken. For Arjuna, this revelation balances compassion and detachment. He sees that life's diversity, birth, struggle, aspiration is not random. It unfolds through divine intelligence. Yet Krishna himself remains untouched, guiding but never entangled.
Now, this insight transforms how we see the world. We often view life's complexity as chaos, but Krishna shows it as divine orchestration. Every being, every event, every encounter is part of the cosmic unfolding. We too are participants in this rhythm, born again and again through desires and lessons until realization dawns. Recognizing this frees us from judgment of ourselves and others. We learn to act with compassion, knowing everyone is on the same journey home.
In modern terms, Krishna's teaching is spiritual ecology. Everything in existence, human, animal, planet, cosmos, moves by divine energy. Seeing life this way invites reverence. You do not stand apart from creation, you are woven into it. When this realization matures, surrender replaces anxiety. Focus, Krishna creates, sustains, and dissolves through divine energy. See the world as his expression, not as chaos. Trust his rhythm and act with compassion. Scene 9.9 Detached in Action.
Scene. Krishna explains, "All these actions do not bind me, O Arjuna. I remain detached, seated as if neutral, though I am the cause and sustainer of all."
Then, Krishna now reveals the mystery of divine detachment. Though he creates, sustains, and dissolves worlds, he remains untouched by their motion. The universe unfolds through his will, yet he is not bound by its consequences. For Arjuna, this is the model of perfect action to engage fully, yet remain inwardly free. Krishna's detachment is not indifference but mastery. He acts from fullness, not from need. Creation flows from joy, not compulsion. This truth strikes Arjuna deeply. His own struggle is precisely this: how to act without being bound, how to fight without hatred, how to fulfill duty without losing peace. Krishna's example answers it. Do as the divine does. Act sincerely, but surrender ownership. Engage in the world, but let the heart rest in stillness.
Now, this wisdom transforms our modern notion of work and responsibility. We often act out of pressure to prove, to achieve, to control outcomes, and end up chained by our own effort. Krishna's teaching is liberation through participation. Act fully, but inwardly free. It is not withdrawal from life, but mastery within it. You can lead, serve, create, and build, but without letting the ego claim authorship.
This divine neutrality also changes how we see others. When we understand that Krishna himself guides creation without attachment, we can release our obsession with control. We are co-workers in divine rhythm, not individual owners of fate. Peace begins when control ends. Focus. Like Krishna, act with full engagement but inner freedom. Detachment is not withdrawal, it is clarity that frees the heart from bondage.
Scene 9:10. Nature works under divine guidance. Scene, Krishna says, "Under my supervision, nature brings forth all moving and unmoving beings. Because of this, O Arjuna, the world revolves."
Then Krishna identifies himself as the unseen supervisor of Prakriti material nature. The universe is not self-governing chaos. It functions under divine intelligence. The elements, seasons, and cycles all obey the subtle will of the divine. For Arjuna, this changes everything. The battlefield, the warriors, even his own body are part of a greater orchestration. His individual struggle now belongs to the vast flow of divine purpose. This revelation deepens Arjuna's surrender. He begins to see that duty is not isolated choice, but alignment with cosmic order. Fighting the war is no longer about pride or revenge. It becomes participation in the world's unfolding under Krishna's supervision.
Now, this verse invites us to rediscover trust in life's order. Modern life often feels disconnected, nature exploited, time rushed, and meaning lost. Krishna's vision restores harmony. The universe is sacred ecology. Every sunrise, every heartbeat, every transformation is part of divine supervision. When we forget this, anxiety replaces wonder. When we remember it, peace returns.
This perspective also calls for responsibility. If nature works under divine law, then our task is to cooperate, not exploit. Stewardship of life, environmental care, compassion for beings, integrity in action becomes sacred duty. Trusting divine order does not mean passivity, it means acting in harmony with truth.
Focus. Nature moves under divine guidance. Live as a conscious participant in Krishna's harmony, not as a controller. Trust his order and act responsibly within it.
Scene 911. Fools misunderstand the divine.
Scene. Krishna declares, "Fools disregard me when I appear in human form, not knowing my higher nature as Lord of all beings."
Then, Krishna now addresses a common spiritual blindness. Many see only the outer, the body, the role, the form, and miss the divinity within. When God appears as man, as friend, as teacher, the unwise dismiss him as ordinary. Arjuna, blessed with humility, sees what others cannot. This verse exposes a timeless truth. Ignorance mocks what it cannot comprehend. For Arjuna, this hits close to home. Many on the battlefield see Krishna as a mere charioteer, not realizing he is the eternal Lord guiding creation. Krishna's words invite Arjuna to look deeper, to see divinity behind appearances, to recognize God even in human closeness.
Now, this ignorance persists in our time. We revere distant deities, but fail to see divinity in living beings. We separate the sacred from the ordinary, temple from marketplace, ritual from relationship. Krishna challenges this split. Divinity hides in plain sight, in kindness, in service, in courage, in truth. To mock or dismiss these is to ignore God himself.
This verse also exposes spiritual arrogance, the idea that intellect alone can measure the divine. True wisdom bows before mystery. Recognition of Krishna is not gained through analysis, but through love, reverence, and humility. Focus, see beyond appearances. The divine may walk beside you in simple form. Humility reveals what pride blinds God hidden in humanity. Scene 912. The deluded and the proud.
Scene. Krishna says, "Those with vain hopes, vain actions, and vain knowledge possessed of deluded nature, partaking of the deceit of the demonic, do not seek me."
Then, Krishna describes the tragedy of spiritual arrogance. There are those who, despite learning and effort, miss the divine essence because their hearts are clouded by ego. Their hopes are vain because they seek fulfillment without alignment to truth. Their actions are vain because they serve only pride. Their knowledge is vain because it never ripens into wisdom. For Arjuna, this is a sobering moment. Not all seekers walk the true path. Many wander in self-deception, thinking they serve Dharma while serving desire. Krishna exposes the subtle illusion that corrupts both religion and intellect when the ego wears spiritual clothing. Those who crave power, prestige, or reward cannot find the divine, for they worship only themselves. They build temples of pride instead of sanctuaries of surrender. For Arjuna, this contrast clarifies the difference between external religiosity and inner realization.
Now, this truth pierces our modern spiritual culture too. We live in an age of display achievements posted, virtue advertised, knowledge flaunted. Krishna's words remind us that without sincerity, all effort becomes noise. Spiritual pride blinds faster than ignorance. When practice becomes performance, devotion loses fragrance. True wisdom is quiet, humble, and steady. It does not need applause.
Krishna's teaching here is compassionate, not condemning. He does not hate the deluded, he reveals their suffering. They act without inner peace because their motives are divided. He invites all to drop vanity and return to simplicity, to seek truth for its own sake, not for personal validation. Focus. Ego corrupts even the sacred. Let humility guide your seeking. Wisdom without surrender is vanity. Devotion without ego is light. Scene 913. The Great Souls.
Scene. Krishna continues, "But the great souls, O Arjuna, who are endowed with divine nature, worship me with single-minded devotion, knowing me as the origin of all beings and imperishable."
Then, having shown the deluded, Krishna now reveals the great souls, the Mahatmas. They are not defined by status or intellect, but by purity of heart. Knowing Krishna as the eternal source of all, they worship him not from fear or duty, but from love. Their devotion is steady, their joy constant, their actions spontaneous offerings. These are not saints in distant temples, but people who live with awareness of the divine in every breath. For Arjuna, this description is both mirror and map. Krishna invites him to rise into this divine nature. In the ancient world, Mahatma meant expanded soul. Such a person's identity stretches beyond self to include all beings. Their love becomes inclusive, their wisdom compassionate. They see the world as Krishna's body. To serve life is to serve him.
Now, this is the model for modern spirituality. The Mahatma is not one who escapes the world, but one who embraces it with love. They work, teach, heal, lead, and serve, yet see everything as Krishna's play. Such people radiate peace not because life is easy, but because their center is unshakable. In an age of division, they remind us that holiness is not separation from the world, but unity with it.
Krishna's message is that every soul can become a Mahatma. The path is open, steady devotion, pure motive, and awareness of the divine in all. In surrender, greatness blossoms naturally. Focus. The great soul sees God as the source of all and lives in devotion. Let your heart expand to include all beings, that is the mark of true divinity. Closing summary: God sustains all.
Scene. The battlefield fades into silence as Krishna's teaching deepens. The veil between personal and cosmic dissolves. Arjuna no longer sees Krishna as a friend or teacher alone. He begins to perceive him as the eternal rhythm of life itself, creator, sustainer, and dissolver of all.
Then, Krishna first reveals that at the end of each cosmic cycle, all beings return to him, and at its dawn, he sends them forth again. Scenes 9.7, 9.8. He is both ocean and wave, source and sustainer. Yet, though all arises in him, he remains detached, the perfect actor who creates without bondage. Scene 9.9. Under his supervision, nature brings forth all beings, and thus the world revolves. Scene 9.10. Still, fools misunderstand him, taking his human form for limitation rather than compassion. Scene 9.11.
Krishna contrasts these with two types of souls. The deluded, bound by pride, seek fulfillment without surrender. Their actions, knowledge, and hopes are vain because they revolve around ego. Scene 9.12. The great souls, however, know him as the origin of all. Their devotion is simple, sincere, and steady. They live in alignment with the divine rhythm, serving without fear, loving without condition. Scene 9.13.
For Arjuna, these revelations shift the entire meaning of battle and life itself. Duty is no longer just obligation, it is participation in divine order. Every rise and fall, creation and destruction is Krishna's play. The choice before him and before all of us is whether to resist this rhythm or to flow with it in surrender.
Now, these verses offer profound guidance for the modern world. We live amid constant uncertainty, economic shifts, personal losses, climate upheavals, inner restlessness. Krishna's message is that beneath the chaos lies order. Beneath the fleeting lies the eternal. The same intelligence that moves the stars governs our lives. When we trust that, fear fades.
Surrender, as Krishna defines it, is not passivity but wisdom, the realization that you are part of divine movement, not apart from it. Detachment is not indifference, it is freedom from anxiety about outcomes. To act with awareness, to serve with love, to let go of control, this is spiritual maturity.
Krishna also distinguishes between prideful knowledge and true understanding. Information fills the mind, devotion fills the soul. When knowledge humbles the heart, it becomes wisdom. When wisdom deepens into love, it becomes liberation. The great soul walks this path simple, sincere, grounded in the awareness that God sustains all.
Focus, the essence of chapter 9. Part 2 is surrender through understanding. Life's rhythm, creation, preservation, dissolution is divine movement. Trust it, act with awareness, let devotion replace control, and you will find peace in the heart of change.